Welcome to Sanatan Puranas. Today, we're exploring a question that has captivated minds for centuries. Why does Lord Ganesha have the head of an elephant? The story is familiar to many, a tale of devotion, a misunderstanding, and a divine intervention that resulted in one of the most beloved forms in the Hindu pantheon. But is that all there is to it? Or does this seemingly simple story hide profound layers of symbolism and perhaps even a hint of scientific prowess from a forgotten age? Let's delve beyond the bedtime story and uncover the deeper meanings. The most widely known narrative comes from the Puranas. The goddess Parvati, wanting a loyal guard to protect her privacy, created a boy from the sandalwood paste on her body and breathed life into him. She instructed him to stand guard and allow no one to enter while she bathed. The young boy, fiercely loyal to his mother's command, took his duty with utmost seriousness. Soon after, Lord Shiva returned home. Unaware that this boy was his son, Shiva was stopped at the door. Despite Shiva's insistence, the boy refused to let him pass, leading to a fierce confrontation. In a fit of divine anger, and not realizing the boy's identity, Shiva severed the child's head. When Parvati emerged and saw what had happened, her grief and rage were boundless, threatening to unleash a destructive force upon the cosmos. To appease her and rectify his grave error, Shiva promised to bring the boy back to life. He sent his celestial attendants, the Ganesha, with a specific instruction to bring back the head of the first living creature they encountered that was facing north. The Ganesha traveled and found an elephant sleeping, its head pointing north. Following Shiva's command, they brought the elephant's head back. Shiva, with his divine power, placed the elephant's head upon the boy's body and breathed life back into him. He not only revived the boy but also blessed him, appointing him as the leader of his Ganesha, hence the name Ganpati, or Ganesha, the lord of the Ganesha. He also granted him the boon that he would be worshipped first, before any other deity, in any ritual or new beginning. This story, while beautiful, is rich with symbolism. It isn't just a literal account of events, it's a profound allegory for the spiritual journey of every human being. The original human head that was severed represents the ego, the ahamkara. This is the part of us that is filled with pride, ignorance, and a limited sense of self, an identity separate from the universal consciousness. In the story, the boy's fierce but ignorant loyalty, which leads him to challenge even the supreme being Shiva, is a perfect representation of this untamed ego. It is powerful and determined, but ultimately, it stands as an obstacle to true understanding and divine connection. Shiva's act of severing the head is not an act of cruelty but a symbolic act of spiritual initiation. It represents the necessary destruction of the individual ego for spiritual progress to occur. The ego must be beheaded for the soul to awaken to its true, divine nature. This is a recurring theme in spiritual traditions worldwide, the idea that one must lose their smaller self to find their greater self. It's a symbolic death of the old, limited identity to make way for a rebirth into a higher state of consciousness. And what replaces the human head? The head of an elephant. This is where the symbolism becomes even more profound and layered. The elephant's head represents everything the human ego is not. Think about the qualities of an elephant. They are known for their immense intelligence, wisdom, and sharp memory. The large head of Ganesha signifies buddhi, or intellect, but not just any intellect. It represents a higher, divine wisdom that is vast, calm, and discerning. The large ears of the elephant symbolize the importance of listening. Not just hearing, but truly listening, to the wisdom of the sages, to the scriptures, and to the subtle voice of the divine within. In a world full of noise, Ganesha's large ears remind us to be receptive to knowledge and truth. The small eyes of the elephant signify deep concentration and focus. They teach us to look inward, beyond the distractions of the material world, and to focus on our spiritual goal with single-minded determination. The long trunk, known as the Vakratanda, has a dual nature. It is powerful enough to uproot a massive tree, yet delicate enough to pick up a tiny needle from the ground. This symbolizes the perfect balance between strength and gentleness, power and precision. It also represents a highly developed and adaptable intellect. The trunk has the unique ability to discriminate, to differentiate between right and wrong, between the eternal and the ephemeral, much like a seeker on the spiritual path must learn to do. So, the replacement of the head is a symbolic transformation. The limited, ego-driven human intellect is replaced by a vast, wise, and discerning divine intellect. It is the journey from ignorance to enlightenment, from a limited self to the infinite self. This brings us to a more controversial and modern interpretation of this ancient story. Could the tale of Ganesha's head replacement be more than just a metaphor? Could it be a veiled account of an advanced surgical procedure from ancient India? This idea has gained traction in recent years, often cited as evidence of advanced medical knowledge in ancient civilizations. Proponents of this theory point to ancient Indian texts, like the Sushruta Samhita, as proof. The Sushruta Samhita, an ancient Sanskrit text on medicine and surgery, is one of the foundational texts of Ayurveda. It describes incredibly complex surgical procedures, including rhinoplasty, the reconstruction of the nose. The techniques described in the text are so detailed and effective that they are considered the basis for modern plastic surgery. In fact, Sushruta is often hailed as the father of surgery. The theory posits that if ancient surgeons had the knowledge to perform complex reconstructions like rhinoplasty, is it entirely out of the realm of possibility that they had experimented with even more advanced procedures, like head transplants or xenotransplantation, the transplantation of organs between species? The story of Ganesha, in this light, is re-examined. The beheading is seen as a traumatic injury. Shiva's command to find a head is seen as a search for a donor. And the reattachment is viewed as a miraculous, life-saving surgery. This interpretation suggests that the Puranas, which we often read as mythology, might be allegorical records of historical events or scientific achievements, coded in the language of stories and deities to ensure their preservation through the ages. Could the divine power of Shiva be a metaphor for the extraordinary skill and knowledge of a master surgeon? Could the celestial attendants be a highly trained surgical team? While this is a fascinating and thought-provoking idea, it remains a highly speculative claim and is not supported by mainstream historical or scientific consensus. Critics argue that this interpretation takes the story too literally and strips it of its profound spiritual and symbolic meaning. They contend that viewing this sacred story solely as a record of a surgical procedure misses the point entirely. The essence of the story is not about medical technology, but about spiritual transformation. The power of the Ganesha story lies in its ability to operate on multiple levels. For a child, it is a captivating tale of gods and magic. For a philosopher, it is a deep allegory about the nature of the ego and intellect. The beauty of Sanatana Dharma is its layered complexity. It doesn't demand a single, rigid interpretation. It allows for both the spiritual metaphor and the speculative scientific interpretation to coexist. Whether you see the story of Ganesha's head as a profound allegory for overcoming the ego, an ancient account of a surgical marvel, or both, its core message remains powerful. It speaks of transformation, of new beginnings, and of the possibility of replacing our limited, flawed nature with something greater, wiser, and more divine. Ganesha embodies the perfect wisdom that arises when the ego is surrendered. He is the remover of obstacles, not just worldly obstacles, but the internal obstacles of pride, ignorance, and doubt that block our path to true happiness and fulfillment. Every aspect of his form, from his elephant head to the modak in his hand, is a lesson in living a balanced and meaningful life. He teaches us to be strong yet gentle, to listen more than we speak, and to use our intellect for the good of all. So, the next time you see an image of Ganesha, look beyond the charming form. See the profound wisdom it represents. See the triumph of intellect over ego, the promise of transformation, and the eternal guide who helps us begin our journeys, both big and small. Thank you for joining us on Sanatan Puranas. If you found this exploration meaningful, please consider subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the timeless wisdom of the Puranas. We'll see you in the next video.